In a previous video, we talked about starting to use the MySQL command line from the Windows command prompt, and I'm going to go over a different way of doing the same thing before we start going into further command line prompts. So it may be better, maybe worse, it depends on the situation, but it gives you an alternate way of doing things. So I'm going to start up my command line, which I have as a quick launch, and this is going to be important in a little bit that every time I launch, this puts me into the cook directory. All right, so before we start, or before I start showing you how to use MySQL command line scripts, so we're going to be talking about scripts today, I want to show you a little bit about how to maneuver around in the command prompt. So the first thing that you can do is do a dir for directory, which will give a list of all the stuff in your current directory. And you can change directories. You can do a CD for change directory. If you do a single dot, that just gives you the current directory that you're in. If you do a dot dot, that takes you back one directory. And then if you want to change back to where you started from, you just do CD space and the name of the directory that you want to go to. All right, so a couple very simple commands for getting around in the command line for Windows. Similar things in Unix. Now that I've shown you some basics for getting around the command line, we are going to make a MySQL script. I'm going to use Notepad as my editor. The more basic the editor that you use for this, the better. If you try to use Microsoft Word or even WordPad, it's going to interject its own kind of special formatting characters, and command line tools are not going to like it. They want straight ASCII characters and character return line feeds at the end of their lines. So just use Notepad. It's very simple, works great. All right, so how do we do this? Well, it's really simple. You just start typing in MySQL commands. So I'm going to get the current date, the current user, the version, and the databases that that user has access to. So I'm just going to put those commands together in one file and save this. Oops, well, okay, save as will work. And okay, I'm going to save this, and you're not going to get to see where. Okay, so I didn't show you all the process it took me to get to the folder that I'm saving it in, but I guess it's okay if you see the folder. I have a pretty branched out directory structure on my personal computer. But all right, I want to save this as all files. It actually doesn't matter what you save this as, just as long as it's a text file. But I'm going to save it as a MySQL or just an SQL file. So .SQL. And we'll call it video script. I'll save that and I'll just minimize that for now. And now what I want to do is go over and find that directory. So I'm going to have to type in a rather lengthy change directory thing here. So I'm going to pause this again so you don't have to labor through watching me do that. And we'll be back in a second. All right, so I got that typed in and hit enter, and we did a good job of getting to the directory where the script is at. Notice that any directories I have, they have a space in the name, like I have a directory called faculty stuff, which probably isn't too surprising. In the courses for the fall of 15, and the course is CSCI 205, any of these directory names, they have spaces in them, you have to enclose in quotes. If you put just a space here, then the command line is going to interpret this as changing to this directory ending at faculty, and then this other stuff is going to say, well, I don't know what that is, and give you an error. And that won't work very well. Okay, I want to remind myself what I called this thing. So this was videoscript.sql. All right, we can handle that. And now I want to run MySQL with that. So I'm going to run this as the root user. I'm going to ask for a password, and then I'm going to tell MySQL that I want to pipe in So this is called piping, or redirecting. And we're going to pipe in the code from the script. So I'm going to call it video script.sql. And I'm going to be asked for my password. And then MySQL will execute that file, videoscript.sql. And again, it doesn't matter what extension you put on this. MySQL actually doesn't care, but it just seems natural to use something like SQL. And then it just takes each line from that script and executes it. So here's the now statement. Notice that it prints out the statement, so it says now and gives you the date. The user is root, dialing from localhost, and this is the version. And oh, well, now what's this? We have an error in our SQL syntax. What's that all about? Going back here to show databases. So it's executed these other three lines. It's show databases that it has a problem, and show databases, it turns out, doesn't have parens on it. So I'll save that. And if you use the up arrow, it brings up the previous command, and we'll just run this again. And there we go. So now I'm running database, and I get a list of the databases that the root user has access to. So you can see that, this might be kind of nice for saving MySQL commands that you run frequently if you're administering a database. It gives you an opportunity to go in and correct your code if you make some mistakes, and you can just rerun it. So that's pretty nice. The only thing I didn't really like about this is having to change to that directory was a little bit of a pain. So it turns out that if you don't like that, you can run a different kind of script. So there's MySQL scripts, but there's also command line scripts. Command line scripts end with .bat. That's the easiest way to do this. And so I'm going to go back to the root directory where I am always positioned when I log in. And I'm going to create a new file. And in this new file, well, here's what I want to do. I want to be able to always save my scripts file in the CSCI 205 business. So in this case, I'm going to use the running scripts folder to save all my scripts that I'm going to use for examples. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to CD to that directory. So let's grab that if I can. Maybe not. All right. Well, we're going to pause for again, and I'm going to get that directory typed in. All right, so I got that directory typed in. So here's that full thing. My table's shaking all over the place. And then afterwards, I invoked the MySQL command. So inside of a Windows script, you can run any of the Windows commands that you want. And this is already saved, but I'm going to do a save as here so you can see that when you save a Windows script, a little bit different rule than when you are saving a MySQL script. It has to end in .bat. Well, okay, there's another extension that you can use, but all right, so I create a file. The file ends in .bat, and it has a couple of commands in it that I like. And so this is going to run, oh, I used an old script here. Let's see. What do I want to call this? Video script? Well, we'll find out in a second. If I can't remember if it's video script or video scripts. I guess I could pause again, but a little excitement here. Now, I want to run that. So it's basic. Oh, let's see. Do I have basic? So I'm showing you my directory information. There it is, basic Windows script.bat. So to execute that, just type in the name, forget the .bat, and because it's a .bat file, or a batch file as it's known, so it does batch processing, then Windows will know that this is executable, and when you do that, it changes to the directory that I wanted to change to, and that's where my MySQL script is stored. and then it runs the command MySQL with the root. And so I'm going to type in my password, and there you go. So this gives me a way to run commands from the root directory that I'm always logged into when I come into the command line. And if I wanted, save this and come back here. Go back to cook, and I'm going to run that command again, basic Windows script, and I'll enter my password. And oh, did I save this? That was not what I was expecting to happen. I missed it. There we go. Basic Windows script. Let's try this again. Am I saving this in the right place? Huh. Well, look at that. I am saving basic Windows script in the wrong directory, which I guess explains why I'm not changing back sort of the way I expected to. Okay, well, guess we can fix that. Let's see here. This is all files. All right. Well, I guess it helps if you save it in the right spot. All right, let's try this one more time. Good grief. I want to make it a mountain out of a molehill. How am I missing? There we go. Basic Windows script. Try this. There. Okay, so that was a lot of work for that rather simple command. So you can see that using scripting languages like the command line script and the MySQL script, if you're good at it and don't screw it up like I did, you can get a lot of tasks accomplished from the command line. You can save your code so that if you have tasks that you need to repeat quite a bit, then you can just run this code. What I didn't get into is a little more advanced scripting where you can put in parameters. So for example, if I wanted to run a different MySQL script than my little basic Windows script, I could actually take that to accept a parameter. So I could do something like this, and then at the end of it, do something like this where I'm passing in the name of the SQL script that I want to run, and then we can change, which scripting file we're passing into MySQL. So it's pretty powerful stuff. We're going to learn more about scripting as the semester rolls along. But for now, I think that will get us started. So as we're learning more commands, we're going to start throwing these into script files and get used to doing things that way.